Welcome to Wine Soundtrack South Africa. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello, friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack. This is Marlene and today I'm joined by Marlene Truter of Less Wines. Marlene, a very warm welcome. It's lovely to have you here today. Please, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself?
Thank you, Marina. It's lovely to be here. I am a wine consultant, a marketing communications consultant, specializing in the wine industry. And I had about a 2-decade stint as marketing communications consultant to wine routes, wineries, industry bodies, competitions, etc., etc. And then came 2020 and it turned the whole world on its head, and careers floundered in the process as well. And I took a pause and reflected on what I really wanted to do with my career going forward. And wine is a passion. I have had an absolute passion for wine since the first day I set foot in a vineyard. And I decided I would do something new in the wine industry. I would experiment with a new project and a new concept. And then I really I did a deep dive into what was happening in the wine industry globally, what the trends were, what the thinking was, what consumer preferences were. And the 3 things that stood out were sustainable, organic, and low alcohol wines. And then I had a good look at sustainable wines, or what sustainability truly means from a people, planet, and profit perspective, not just from the environmental perspective. And I sat in all those hours and I wrote a very big document about sustainability, and I did research. I basically looked at a wine bottle and I dissected the whole bottle and looked at every component, not just the wine, but all the other components as well, the closures, the labels, the bottle itself, etc., etc. And I looked at how I could make that more sustainable. And then I took my document to a branding agency to test drive the concept. And they said, yes, we absolutely love it. And then we fine-tuned the concept and came up with the name Less, as in less is more, which basically means less harm to the environment and people and more enjoyment for the wine lover. And then the next step was obviously to find a wine partner, because then I was very, very enthusiastic when all the words actually got a concept, and I loved the concept so much. So I wanted to do a sample range, and I had to go and find a winemaker that I could partner with who would be prepared to do a small bottling for me.
Okay, and that was the beginning, as they say. So, Marlene, you actually brought 2 of your wines here. There are 2 in the range at the moment. It's a Chardonnay and a Pinotage. Tell me, why did you decide to start with those 2 varietals?
It was a case, I think, of availability. I am a small player in the industry at this point, and I had to look at what the producer had that was available. So we literally took a walk through the winery and tasted some wines. And the wine is from Robertson, which has the perfect soils for producing Chardonnay. And it's an unwooded Chardonnay, which I am loving at the moment. I'm loving unwooded Chardonnays at the moment. I think it's such a move away from those over-oaked, bold Chardonnays which we had a few years back. So I'm loving the Chardonnay for its crispness and the freshness of the grape. And then the Pinotage, the producer, he has a specific passion for Pinotage, and I felt that it was really well made. It was a very true expression of the parent grapes of the varietal, which are Cinsault and Pinot Noir. So I thought it was a very consumer-friendly Pinotage, a very likable Pinotage.
Very nice. Very, very nice. So, both the same producer in Robertson at the moment. What is your volume of the production for these 2 wines?
To date, I have bottled 3,000, just over 3,000 bottles. It's a very small production, around about 1,600 of each cultivar, so it's about 3,200 in total. And the first batch was I bottled a pallet of white and a pallet of red, thinking I would use it as a sample range to test the market. And before I knew it, it sold out. It started moving. Once it started moving, I think what really gave it a huge push forward was Michael Fridjon contacted me and asked whether he could taste the wines. And I sent the wines to him, and he came back with glowing reviews. He scored both wines 90 points, and I obviously used that in my marketing. I was not shy to use that in my marketing, and that sort of just started propelling the sales forward. So I sold a lot of wine at that stage through wine clubs, friends, family wine drinkers, but wine clubs particularly snapped up the wine. And Michael also sold the wine through his own wine club, the Really Great Wine Club.
Mm-hmm. That's a very nice little step up. Yeah, for sure. So at the moment, we can buy this in South Africa. Is it being exported as yet?
Yes, I have exported to Namibia, and the first batch is the first batch is on the way. It's on its way to Hamburg in Germany. I think it left yesterday or earlier this week. The ship set sail for Hamburg, and it's going to go to Curry Premium Wines in Germany, which is a big stockist of South African wines.
Fantastic. Very, very good. Europe, we're coming for you. Let's talk about you. Where did your first memory of wine being something that might be a part of your life begin?
I think I was a very unadventurous wine drinker till the time I landed up living in London, and then there was just sort of all the worlds in the wine on my doorstep, and I started exploring the world of wine. And then when I moved back to South Africa, I just continued that. And I think it's not just the love of wine, it's also the love of the industry, the nature, the connection with nature, the diversity of people. So for me, it's not just about the wine. It's about the whole industry and everything that it represents and the people in the industry.
Once this industry is in your blood, you just don't get it out again, that's for sure. Are there any standout wines that you've had over the years that bring back specific warm and special memories? And if so, can you remember what the wine was?
I think the wine that I love the most, I have tasted a lot of wines. I have a specific preference for Duncan Savage's wines. I absolutely love his wines and the way that he makes wine. And his whole approach to wine making and wine marketing from a more sort of independent producer perspective. I absolutely love his wines. Specifically Follow the Line, and my other big favorite South African red wine is Brouwer Raatz's De Compostela. And I did a vertical tasting, and I'm thinking that I think it was 2011 or thereabouts. At the time it blew me away. That wine blew me away. When I taste a wine that I really like, I will think about it for days, for weeks. It just doesn't leave. It like captures your heart.
Yeah, it just whirls around in your head. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's very, very true. Traveling the world as you have done, are there any wines internationally that have stood out for you, or specific regions or areas that you think, wow, this is a place that I'd like to explore a little bit more and taste more of their wines?
Well, my European travels were in a different industry. They were not in the wine industry. But I had a particular love for Spanish wines and also for some wines from South America. I think there's some interesting wines. And then obviously it would be sacrilege not to mention the French.
It would. I think they'd be very upset. So back to your wines. What are the price points of these two wines?
Okay, the Chardonnay retails at 119 Rand and the Pinotage at 159.
Those are really good prices. Is there a specific thinking behind this in terms of your positioning with your pricing?
Yeah, so we wanted to be at the sort of, it's not an everyday drinking price point. So we wanted to be sort of at the upper end of the consumer market, but the bottom end of the sort of fine wine market. So we pushed ourselves sort of into that slot, and I think the wines are outstanding value for money.
And tell me something about wine critics. You mentioned Michael Frijon, who is a very well-known South African wine critic. Where do you think wine critics and competitions play a part within the wine industry? Do they have a role to play? Do they have relevance? Your thoughts?
Absolutely, yes. Especially someone like Michael Frijon, specifically, who we mentioned, is highly regarded globally. And there are other wine critics as well who I think add value in terms of expressing an informed opinion. The world of wine, we work in wine and we have worked in wine for many years. So wine comes naturally. I like to say we speak wine fluently, but lots of people don't. They are extremely intimidated by wine and they don't know their Chardonnays from their Chenin's, and they just find the whole wine experience intimidating. And I think informative articles by informed people are very helpful, and wine competitions to a degree, yes, as well. It is subjective in the sense that only the wines that are entered can perform at a competition. It is not representative of an entire industry. It's a representation of the best wines that entered a competition, but it does act as a guideline for consumers. I think that consumers buy into the bling on a bottle, definitely.
I do agree with you. I think there is definitely a time and a place for everything, and certainly for the more uninformed consumer to have that guideline, there's a lot of value in it for sure. As a consumer, what do you enjoy drinking? Red, white, rosé, bubbles? What would you generally opt for?
Bubbles, always.
Bubbles.
Number one, always.
And would you prefer a South African Cup Classique or champagne or a Prosecco?
Cup Classique, always. Always, always.
Good girl. Marlene, I'm going to be very presumptive and say I'm guessing you might have had a hangover or two in your life. Do you perhaps have a hangover cure that you can share with us?
Oh my goodness. I think my cure for a hangover is, or I think you must preempt the hangover by drinking wine and possibly paracetamol before you go to bed. And then the next day is just a day of detoxing, just rehydrating yourself and avoiding putting further toxins into your system. No caffeine, none of that. None of those tempting things that you want to reach for.
No hair of the dog then. Okay, so some people read tea leaves in the bottom of a teacup to predict the future. If you could read the future for less wine in the sediment that is left over in a glass of red wine, what would that sediment tell you?
I would like to believe that I'm going to establish less as a global citizen. I would like to see less find a home anywhere in the world. I think it is positioned in terms of the branding. It is positioned so that it can find a home anywhere in the world. Or a wine lover anywhere in the world would actually identify with the concept. It's not, the branding is not country specific. It is more of an aspirational lifestyle brand that is aimed at the conscious consumer.
Nice. Very nice. So you found yourself in this wonderful world of wine that we call our people, our home, our life. When you were little, what did you want to be?
I'll have to think back to this. I think a nurse. Yes, definitely. I've definitely had a sort of a propensity either for sort of caring or saving the world.
I think you're saving the world one bottle of wine at a time right now, so you haven't veered too far away from that.
Very noble.
When you're not working, what takes up your free time?
Most of my free time, I am living in Stanford at the moment. I'm sort of on a working retreat there, and I'm spending most of my time in the mountains. I hike a lot. And the Overberg just blows me away every single week with its absolute beauty.
Wow, that's awesome. It's so beautiful up there. To be able to live that is really quite fortunate, I must say. Are you into music? Do you have any favorite genres that you enjoy listening to, or groups or singers or artists, anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. I love music. And I think my favorite genre, if I think of my Spotify playlist, is definitely world music. I absolutely love world music, and music with a strong sort of Oriental, Arabic kind of influence, Andalusian, that kind of groove.
Very nice. I like it. Marlene, tell me, you see a photograph on the front page of the newspaper of a celebrity that has been papped at a top-end restaurant, and in the photo it shows them enjoying a bottle of lace. Who is that paparazzi? Oh, no, sorry, my apologies, not the paparazzi, the VIP celeb.
Oh my goodness, this is such an interesting question. I think it would have to be a green warrior, a celebrity green warrior. Who would that be? I think our beloved Greta in Sweden is maybe a bit too young to drink,
No,
but maybe when she grows up.
She's not too young. She's a fully fledged adult already. Time flies.
No, it does.
So maybe Greta. Very nice. Okay. What would you consider to be the best piece of advice you've ever received, or the best piece of advice you could impart on someone?
Just in terms of life. Let me think about that for a second. I think the life lesson that I try to instill most on my son, and probably just generally, is just be who you are.
Be true to yourself. It really is. It's so powerful, that I do believe in that myself as well. If you could share a bottle of wine, any bottle of wine in the world, with anyone, alive or dead, what wine would it be and who would it be?
I think it would be with possibly someone who's had a major impact on the world, maybe Gandhi. I'm not sure what the wine would be. I almost want to rewind to a local wine. And I'm thinking maybe an iconic wine like Vinde Constance, maybe.
Very, very nice. I'm quite sure Mr. Gandhi would enjoy our sweet Constantia tipple. What sort of wines do you think will be drunk in the year 2300? Because I feel that you are embracing the movement of sustainability and where we're going. Do you think this trend will continue, will be pulled through, and how will the landscape potentially change between now and then?
Well, I certainly hope we'll still be here in that year, and that we would have woken up to how important it is to live sustainably in every aspect of our lives, and that more and more producers around the globe would be buying into the concept of sustainability. Buying into is actually not the right word, just embracing sustainability to ensure the future of the planet and its people.
Fair enough. Yeah, food for thought. Marlene, can you name 3 wines that you would take with you to a deserted island?
Oh my goodness, I'm excited about the deserted island. I think I would probably take bubbly, and bubbly. My absolute favorite Cup Classique, local Cup Classique at the moment is I'm absolutely loving Claudia Brut from Domaine de Dieu. Absolutely love it. And I also, I think that's about my first choice. I'll have to think about the others.
Yeah, fair enough. But Cup Classique all the way. We're just about done, but before we finish, I would like to play a little game with you. I am going to name 3 varietals or styles of wine, and I would like you to pair each of them with either a song or a music artist or a genre of music that you feel best represents that style or varietal. Okay.
Cool, that's such a cool question.
Yeah, it's fun, and please talk me through your thinking. So, I think it would be wrong not to bring in Cup Classique here.
Absolutely. We definitely need a bubbly person for Cup Classique. Something very upbeat. Let me think. I don't know. Maybe it's a Lady Gaga song.
Lady Gaga song, something wild and exciting and get you moving in your seat. Okay. Chardonnay.
Oh my goodness, I think it's classical music. Definitely. I don't know, one of the classics, maybe Camina Burana.
Oh, beautiful. Definitely. That works well. And then, of course, we've got to go with Pinotage.
Pinotage, will have to keep it local. And now I'm going to have to think who... Spoegwolf.
Spoegwolf. I like that. So just for our listeners, so Spoegwolf is a South African young band, very much on kind of the rock scene of South Africa, and they're very, very cool. So I can definitely see that as well. Marlene, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. Can you please tell our listeners where they can find you virtually, online, social media?
Yes, we're everywhere online. Website is lessismorewine.com. Facebook, Less Is More. And Instagram, lessismorewine.com as well. No, Less Is More Wine as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure chatting to you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Morena.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack South Africa. For details and updates, visit our website, winesoundtrack.com.